What's going on, everybody? This is Nick Lawson from Squad Sports. We're really excited to be supporting the Free Agent Friday series. A lot of great talent out there. Without further ado, this is the next free agent you should be signing with your sports team.
All right, we're back for another Free Agent Friday, and today I got Deanna Repollet with me. How's it going, Deanna?
Doing well. Thank you for having me, Andrew.
Yeah, thanks for joining me. Let's start off with your school experience. Where'd you go to school and any degrees that you received?
So I went to school at East Stroudsburg University in the Poconos. I graduated with a dual major in sport management and Spanish, and I minored in business.
What made you want to get into sports?
That's like the only thing I knew growing up was sports. I grew up with two brothers. My dad is very much into basketball and soccer, so I played both those sports growing up, and then I did track and field in college my first year, so I really wanted to understand the business side of the sports industry.
What are your sports teams if you grew up a sports fan? Like, what were your...
That's a funny one. I more liked players. Obviously, growing up, my dad was a big Bulls fan. I think everybody liked Michael Jordan at that time. I really became a fan of the Celtics all throughout high school and through college. For whatever reason, I'm from Princeton, New Jersey, but I like the Celtics. And Doc Rivers is probably my favorite coach. So when he left the Celtics, I wasn't a fan anymore. And I kind of watch the Clippers, but since they're a West Coast team, it's a little bit hard due to timing. I'm not trying to stay up till midnight all the time. And the Eagles, I am a big Eagles fan. That's definitely because I went to school in PA, and there was a lot of Eagles fans there.
I was figuring Eagles. I grew up in Pennsylvania too, and it was all Eagles. But I was a Cowboys fan, so it really got rough. It got rough for me.
I can tell.
So, yeah, not a good one. Not a good one. Don't wear Cowboys gear to any stadium in Philadelphia.
No, not even walking the streets.
No, not advised. Not advised. So while you were in school, did you do any sports internships at all?
Yes, I actually interned with the 76ers, and that was a fun experience. I did their summer hoops tour during the summer. I graduated in 2009, where, if you remember, the NBA went through a lockout and it was unsure if this season was going to start, and it did. So then I got to do some of the game day operations when the season started again. And then obviously we had the financial crisis as well during that time. So it was a lot of fun times in 2009. But yes, that was my internship, and it was probably the best time that I've ever had. Got to learn so much and meet so many great people.
How about walk me through kind of like your experience once you got out of school up until now?
I went to Major League Soccer, had a sales training center in Minnesota. I packed my bags and went to Minnesota. I sold my car. I just did everything to get into sports at that time. It was a training center for ticket sales, so that way you can learn how to shorten the sales cycle, and you would go through campaigns. So I was selling for LA Galaxy. We sold for Chicago, even and Vancouver as well. So we even went to Vancouver. We didn't go, but we sold for Vancouver too. And it's over the phone. We call like 150 to 200 a day. And these were leads from like 5 years ago when we were there. So very old leads, just dialing and praying. And if you got some, you got some. But it was a very good experience to learn the psychology behind sales and why people, if somebody tells you yes, that you have all authority to continue the sales process just on the first initial step of building rapport and asking or telling them the reason for your call. So it was probably the best experience I've had in terms of learning sales and why people kind of tend to shy away from sales, but everybody's a salesperson at the end of the day.
And then how about from there, where'd you go?
Then I decided to move even further to the Midwest, to Kansas City. I was recruited during the process, I had interviews with Sporting KC, Columbus Crew, and the Colorado Rapids, and I went to Kansas City. Didn't know a single soul out there, and it was funny enough, it was the one that offered the least amount of money, but for me, it was like, oh, it's the highest opportunity. It was a better team, The ownership was more involved. So to me, it felt like a better fit. And I couldn't have been happier. I went there, I started as sales associate. Within 3 years, I was senior account executive, and then they trained me to be in partnership sales in the corporate partnership team. And then from there, I became a manager of premium and selling corporate partnerships at the same time. So I was managing staff and selling partnerships to our suite owners who never had been tapped into. So it was a nice organic growth from there. But then family things arised and I had to move back home to New Jersey area. But then that's when I went to Brooklyn Sports Entertainment at the time, another BSE Global. And then I went to premium partnerships there. We're selling full suite leases as well as marketing partnerships too.
So what size like partnerships or premium stuff have you sold then?
Definitely in the 6 figures. I would say my highest deal at this point is around 280,000. And I've definitely pitched over like $500,000. It just didn't close, unfortunately. But it's 2 sides of that. But there's, I would say my average deal size, like we would be at least at Brooklyn, it was around like 50,000 to 80,000. And then at Sporting Kansas City, that 50, 80,000 was probably on the higher point due to the nature of the market, Kansas City versus New York. Because I was in Kansas City, I was managing about a book of business of 3 million and then growing that as well as managing a staff who had a $3 million book of business. So I was in charge of $6 million total there.
Nice. What would you say is your biggest strength that you'll bring to a new position?
I definitely know how to knock down doors and open them that nobody's either been able to get into or it's been a hard time for them. That's kind of my niche. Specifically, examples at Brooklyn was I was able to get into very large media accounts and dealing with presidents of media companies that people weren't able to get to. And it's mostly, I like to network and I like to be front facing. So I definitely am involved throughout the process, but I also like to utilize every person that I meet within one company as my internal cheerleader, if you would, to get me to that next step. My biggest goal in any sales process is you're going to make me look good if I could sell it, but I also want to make you look good internally because this should be a win-win for both parties. So I definitely like to cherish and value relationships internally as well as like at the company. So that's, I would say, my biggest strength. But also, I think people have really great rapport with me and they trust me. They value my ideas because I definitely lead with ideas and wanting to change the way that either they were operating or we're operating to make at least a marketing partnership beneficial for not only our brands, but the community as well.
How about on the flip side? What do you need to work on the most?
Let's say flip side, this would be just from my last position. I got this really good feedback that I tend to like worry about details too much and I should just go through them faster. But that would be one thing that I was told. And I kind of caveat that because I think that's very important. I think details are highly important no matter what. So I mean, that's something I could work on a little bit more, but maybe at the end of the day, that's a delegation part where I have now staff who can do those things and go faster. So who knows?
Yeah. And just identifying which details need more time and don't. So sometimes we get caught up on, some and it slows us down. So, I mean, it's definitely good to be focused on that because you don't want to drop the ball either. So it's a balancing act.
It definitely is.
Are you open to relocation for your next role or do you need to be in that New York, Jersey area?
I am open to relocation. I've obviously lived in Kansas City. I think at this point, and I say Kansas City is a great place. Wow, I should stop right there. But it was coming from I guess this Northeast has this attitude of the coasts are the best place, right? You want a big city. So that's kind of what I'm looking for just in the sense of my personal life. And I think I'm at the phase in my life where that could be it's more of a priority than it once was in my past. So I'm looking for a bigger market at the end of the day.
And then how about like what kind of role are you most interested in?
I'm looking at, depends on the type because I have the ticket sales management experience as well as sponsorship. So it would go senior manager for any sponsorship or director level, but definitely director level for any premium tickets management side. and specifically sales. I would say that.
What's the dream job?
The dream job. I feel like this has changed so much due to this pandemic. Right now, I would say I really want to create change, whether it's running my own agency at the end of the day, which it's not going to happen right now due to this pandemic, but being able to identify holes, right? Specifically now, it's been very interesting. A lot of sports teams have not really tapped into the digital sales side, where they can create all this content, but they don't have anybody who knows how to flight digital sales, because sports have been so focused since they're seasonal on selling long-term deals and year-over-year deals, where they've never really had this flighted sales system. And I really see that as a huge opportunity for sports teams to tap into, whether it's educating the staff that you currently have or hiring in new staff to create this program. So that's kind of where I've been thinking about this whole pandemic. Is I've really dove into digital sales and marketing right now, and I see a huge opportunity specifically with sports and events, and that's something that I'm kind of looking at more and more.
And I mean, you're right. I mean, there is so much content, and there can be content year round, you know, if utilized properly, and it's just a whole nother stream. So
yeah. And you've probably seen it in many sports teams and when I was at Sporting, the only reason why I became manager of premium as well as selling sponsorships was to bridge the gap between ticket sales and sponsorship. And it's just so one side could talk to the other, really. And you'll see that with a lot of sports teams where there's a lot of content creators, and the marketing team, why are they creating sales packages for the sales teams? It doesn't make sense, where they should just collaborate and see what works best. And that's what I think is going to be the evolution if teams are able to communicate with each other.
yeah, I think I was talking to somebody else about that, I think in the last week or two. It's just, it's crucial because, you know, a lot of times the marketing folks they don't know the sales process. They don't know really what we're selling, and you definitely need to be on the same page. And I think that's where, you know, just meetings and brainstorming sessions together can, you know, just make those marketing plans work for the team. I mean, really just drive traffic, drive leads. There's so many ways that they should be working together. So
yeah.
How would you
good staff? Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Yeah.
How would you
good staff? Oh my gosh. Go ahead. Your turn, Andrew.
How would you define success?
Success, that's a hard one because I don't think it's ever attainable. I think you're always looking for the next successful thing in your life. But I would say to continually be doing something that's either out of the box, being innovative, and striving to be better each day, whether or not you fail, because I think you've learned from so many of your mistakes. But a success to me is never attainable because you're always looking for the next best thing, the next thing to make you better.
How about a fun personal fact?
Fun personal fact. So I speak Spanish, so I am bilingual. And here's the funniest part about that. My parents didn't teach me Spanish. I'm Puerto Rican. They did not speak to me in Spanish growing up. I was highly annoyed because I wanted to learn it. And my dad would it was like Spanglish. But I decided to take Spanish in high school because we learned it. Like, I knew how to speak it, but I did not know how to read or write it. And so I learned how to read and write it in high school, and then I took it in college to really further as well. So that's why I have the dual major in college, and I get made fun of with my family because my Spanish is very proper, and it's more like a Spanish from Spain rather than this Caribbean Puerto Rican dialect.
Very nice. So are you fluent then?
Yes, I'm fluent now, and in reading and writing as well.
Very nice. Well, you know, you got a great, background. So it'll be exciting to kind of watch your next step. I'm sure you're going to find something here soon as things are slowly getting back to business, it seems like. So, but thanks for joining me, and let's keep in touch.
All right. I appreciate it, Andrew. Thank you.